Hey, welcome everyone. Mark here at Blueglow Electronics. Another Soapbox Sunday for you, just to pass the time because I'm not going to get another oscilloscopes for audio video out this weekend. Hopefully in the next week or two we'll have this third one in the series wrapped up. Been having a lot of fun with it. But let's see what we've got in store for this weekend. All right, my favorite part of this entire electronics hobby is the learning aspect. So as much as I love doing and restoring and fixing and building, I really love learning the most. So anytime I'm doing one of those things, I'm always pushing myself into new ventures, learn new things, new avenues, new angles on how things work or whatnot. So as of late, we've been focused on some chassis design and actually getting a chassis built and fabricated. As you can see here, it is just super exciting. First ever chassis that we've gone through the whole process of, kind of design, build, fabricate from one end to the other. So super excited about it. I want a huge shout out to a guy named Larry. He'll know who I'm talking about. He's been helping me on this journey, helped with a lot of the CAD works. He has just been absolutely amazing. And I know he spent many hours on this, kind of taking me down the journey. But I've learned a lot back and forth with the manufacturer or the fabrication shop, and just continuing to learn. Even after I got this one, we learned a tweak or two we're going to make before the next batch. But just super excited. It's something I've never done. First ever production manufactured chassis ever that I didn't, take something like a Hammond chassis and carve up myself, So super excited about this. This will play out for us in many ways. So we've got the 300B amplifier coming up, and we've also got some other projects in store that I haven't really mentioned. So stay tuned, everybody. Super excited about this. And as you can see, the work efforts are starting to pay off, and this stuff will come to life. All right, I thought I'd answer a viewer's question here because it was just a good general question relating to cathode bias. It says, hey Mark, I've been following your YouTube channels for years and bet you can answer this one in 5 seconds. And he was right. I'm trying to troubleshoot a simple amplifier circuit that expects to see about 40 volts on the grid of the 12AU7. Doesn't sound right to me. 2 test points circled are spot on, but the grid voltages I'm measuring is 26 volts. Now that I'm looking closely, perhaps I'm reading the schematic incorrectly. Maybe the test points in red are for the cathodes, which do indeed read around 40 volts. So now I'm not even sure if I have a problem. All right, let's take a look at this thing. Okay, when I'm trying to figure out a circuit like this, the first thing I like to do is orient myself to some known factors. One of those known factors, always easy to find on a schematic, is ground, okay? So I found the ground point here, which ultimately means this little line here along this little bus here is also at ground. And if I'll notice here, between the cathode here of this tube and the cathode of this tube, right, there is what? There is a 4700 ohm resistor on both of these between the cathode and ground. And if we'll notice, in parallel with that is, what do we call these? Cathode bypass capacitors, okay? So what that tells me is this is a cathode biased amplifier. And what do we know about cathode biased amplifiers? Well, typically you will have a resistor between the cathode and ground, which we have going on right here, okay? In a fixed bias amplifier, typically this cathode is tied directly to ground. Not always the case, but most of the time, okay? So if we're looking here at the 40 volts they're talking about, they are actually talking about it here at the cathode, okay? Because what we want in a cathode biased amplifier is to establish a negative bias between the cathode and the grid. Not between the grid and ground, not between the cathode and ground, but between the cathode and the grid. So if you ever want to measure the bias of your tube in a cathode biased amplifier, you would click one little lead here onto the grid and another little lead here onto the cathode. You would measure the difference between those. That would be your bias voltage on a cathode biased amplifier. However, This 40 volts they're talking about right here is on the cathode, and they are referencing it back to ground here in this scenario. So if you clip a lead here and clip a lead over here on ground and measure, should get 40 volts, okay? So then if we take a look over here on the grid of this tube, right, coming out through here, there is what? There is a grid leak resistor of 1 meg that comes over here, and typically your grid leak resistors go to ground, but in this case they didn't in this amplifier. If you'll notice, ground is back here, right? So it's this whole little section along here, but there's a voltage divider made up of this resistor, the 62K, and the 470K here that goes back to this point here where there's 250 volts. So if you did the voltage divider math on that, it puts you around 31 volts right here at this location, which is actually then, tied back through this 1 meg resistor back to the grid. And that's why it's not quite got zero bias here at the grid. So the difference between the 20 volts or whatever he said he was reading here and the 40 is actually his cathode bias in this point. But just thought I'd break it down for you a little bit, answer your question. Likely nothing wrong with your amplifier. I don't know what you were ultimately chasing. You never really said, but hopefully I cleared up any myths you got here around this cathode bias and how this circuit works. All right, I thought I'd share another one of my eBay stories with you. This one's a little bit of a pain in the tail, but anyway, here we go. So a month or so ago, I posted up on eBay a beautifully restored pair of Macintosh C8, C8S preamps with factory cabinets. These things are absolutely beautiful, fully restored, whatnot. Anyway, the owner of these are not mine. The owner of these decided to go with a different preamp for his amplifier. And so he asked me if I would help him sell these online. And so I did. I helped him out and posted them online for him. And then this week, someone bought them. Okay, this large distant 1201 here. Check this out. Okay, they paid instantly, right? I got the money in my account instantly. 132,933, 100% positive eBay feedbacks, okay? And if you scroll here, you'll notice it says the payment for this item has been canceled. And you may say, well, Mark, why did you cancel this auction? Let me tell you why. So I thought it was just a little too good to be true, okay? First off, I had them listed at $19.95 or best offer. And the individual that bought this large distant 1201, didn't make an offer at all. And that's kind of odd for me. When somebody just pays the full price, doesn't make an offer. I mean, if they'd have made an offer for $100 less, I would have accepted it and kind of rolled on type thing. But so I had my alarms going off just a little bit. So I thought I'd look them up. They gave me the seller's name, which happened to be this Takuchi on eBay. At any rate, pages after pages after pages after pages of eBay complaints about this seller and his company called Shop Airlines American. And so I'm sitting here thinking, well, heck, he's got 132,000 positive feedbacks, but yet on on Google, when you Google him, there's just hundreds and hundreds of pages of complaints. Well, I figured out what was going on. Keep in mind, on eBay, when a buyer buys something and they pay in full, the seller cannot leave them bad or negative feedback. All they can do is leave them positive feedback for paying on time, right? It doesn't work that way with the seller, okay? Just that way with the buyer. So then I do a little more research about this Shop American Airlines, right? So what they are basically a reseller of eBay items to Japan. So if you read down here, it'll say we're an allied partner of eBay. It means they have the right to introduce and sell eBay items through their website. So they've got a website full of eBay items. People in Japan are buying this stuff. But when I started reading back through all of these horror stories here, and it is just pages after pages after pages after pages of them. Here's what happens. First off, you ship it to this individual in California. They get the item. They never open it. They reship it then to Japan in whatever packaging you shipped it in. Goes straight over to Japan. And if you look here in some of their pictures, you can see it looks like they're sometimes putting multiple things in one box to save on shipping cost to get it over to Japan. Well, looks like a lot of the time, maybe not every time, but a lot of the time, what happens is these items get overseas and the buyer says, oh, it's missing something, it's damaged, oh, it's a fake item, I want a refund. And what happens then is this individual files a claim on eBay and asks you to give them their money back. And if so, they ship you back an item. And what I've been reading is a lot of the items that get shipped back, like antique fan collectors and jewelry, just all kinds of stuff. But a lot of the stuff that gets sent back is not what was originally shipped in the box. It's a fake counterfeit item, or maybe it's a used item. Any rate, or they ask you for a bunch of money off. So I was scared to death to ship these things to this individual, even though they paid me, and then have them turn around 3 weeks from now after they've shipped to Japan and say, oh, you didn't pack it well, and oh, there were problems here, and oh yeah, by the way, I need $500 back, when in reality there's probably nothing wrong with those items. So at any rate, that's why I reached out to the individual and I said, hey, you got great eBay feedback, but your reputation on the internet is just horrible. I mean, it's just one rip-off report after another. And so, I refunded his money and said, sorry, not open to selling to you. So just a little caution there. Even though you sell something and someone pays you right away and they've got really good feedback, doesn't mean they're a great eBayer. Just means eBay's system won't let you leave them negative feedback. Otherwise, I think this guy would have a ton of negative feedback at this point in time. All right, next topic. Okay, in part 2 of my oscilloscope video series, I used a amplifier chassis stand on my bench over here, and I had some of you guys asking me, hey Mark, where did you get that at? And honestly, it's something new here to Blueglow. I picked it up back before Christmas. I've always been a cheapskate, and I've always just used these. I've got a whole stack of 2x4s cut at different lengths that I use down here in the basement to kind of stack up and to sit amplifiers on them. But what they don't do, and they work fine, right? But what they don't do is tilt the amplifier towards you, so I'm always leaning way over into them, if that makes sense. And I've seen these things for a long time. This is nothing new. They've been around for a long time. Guitar amplifier guys seem to use them, as you can see here. And I always thought, if I had to work on great big long chassis like that, guitar amps, I'd probably have one. But then recently I got to thinking, well, why wouldn't I use one for the size amps that I work on? So I picked one up here off of Mojo Tone. They're $149. Mojo Tone's another North Carolina company here, just right up the road from me. And got it in, and I've been extremely happy with it. Extremely well made. You can kind of see here, you've got this little cradle-like section right here. Let me see if I can get this picture to blow up. Yeah. You've got this little cradle section here that you sit your amplifier in, and it's got felt on it. And then you can swing this at any direction you want it here to tilt the amp chassis towards you or not. You could pull these out and drop it down further if you wanted it lower. And then you've got these 4 kind of wing nuts here that you can loosen and tighten to slide these in and out. Now, if I had my choice, I would have one that was not as wide as this, and so maybe I'll custom cut mine one day or something. But it's made for a pretty wide chassis, and most of the chassis I work on are not that big. But it'll go down as tight as you want it to, and work on even the smallest of smallest amplifiers. So just thought I'd point this out to you. These guys ship right away. I mean, I literally ordered it on like a Saturday, and it showed up at my house on a Monday. But I'm only 2 hours from these guys right up the road. And they tell you what they're made out of here. It'll go from a 29, holds up to a 29 3/4 inch long chassis. And I imagine on the shortest it would go is probably something like a 6 or 7 inch chassis. So anyway, thought you guys would find this interesting. All right, guys and gals, a major milestone here at Blueglow Electronics. It's blowing my mind, but we have officially hit 30,000 subscribers. I would have never fathomed this from day one. I remember when I hit 2,000 subscribers and I went running upstairs to my wife and I said, honey, can you believe that I have 2,000 people watching these cruddy videos that I make? And hey, I own up to it. Some of my early videos were pretty rough. Using a little camera in my hand, I call it shaky cam. I can't even go back and watch any of my first maybe 15, 20 videos. They make me sick. Motion sickness. I don't know how you guys put up with it. But somewhere up around video 30 or so, I started getting a little better with the equipment and using stands and whatnot. And we've been trying to be a little more pro ever since. But, I wouldn't be doing this if you guys didn't care to see my videos. The more people watch, the more it inspires me to do more of these. I just now need to get done with this day job that I've got in the next few years and retire so I can just crank out videos and hold classes and do things full time in this career. It is going to be my retirement career, and I'm excited. So if you think you've seen the best of Blueglow, you haven't. You're seeing the parts of Blueglow that I can fit in between a 60 to 70 hour day job. So when I retire here in a few years, we're going to make this our full-time gig. But I just wanted to say thanks again, everybody. Couldn't do this without you guys, and super excited to have gotten to this 30,000 subscribers. All right, we'll see you guys again next weekend, hopefully with the part 3 in the oscilloscope series. Thanks for watching, everyone.